There's a moment, sometimes late at night, sometimes in the middle of chaos, when it feels easier to walk away than to fight. That moment when your dreams feel heavier than your strength. We've all felt it. But before you give up, before you trade in your mission for temporary relief, you owe it to yourself to ask 5 powerful questions. Because the quality of your life is defined by the quality of questions you ask when life hits the hardest. 1, what am I really feeling? And what's the truth behind it? When you're at your lowest, your emotions are loud. You're not just tired. You're telling yourself you're a failure. You're not just overwhelmed. You're telling yourself it'll never work. But here's the truth. Emotion distorts reality. Take a breath and ask, what am I really feeling? And what's fueling it? Is it fear of judgment? Is it past trauma being triggered? Or maybe it's just that you haven't rested in 3 days. Clarity starts with honesty. Never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. 2, what is the cost of quitting? Not just today, but 5 years from now. In the moment, quitting looks like relief. But step into the future for a second. 5 years from now, where will you be if you walk away today? Will you feel peace or regret? Because the dream doesn't go away. The voice inside that called you to start, it never stops whispering. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret, that one sticks with you. If the long-term cost of quitting is greater than the short-term pain of continuing, keep going. 3, who else does this decision impact? You don't live in isolation. Your struggle is not just about you. Someone is watching. Your child, your friend, your younger self, someone who needs your breakthrough to believe theirs is possible. What if you staying in the fight is the permission someone else needs to believe in their own comeback? You're carrying more than your own legacy. So before you quit, ask, who loses if I stop here? 4, have I really tried everything or just what's comfortable? Most people don't give up because they've exhausted every option. They give up because they've exhausted their favorite ones. Growth is on the other side of discomfort. Maybe the path you're on isn't broken. It just demands a version of you you've never had to be. Have you asked for help? Have you adapted your strategy? Have you stepped outside your ego to try something new? Don't confuse stubbornness with strength. The strong don't quit, but they do pivot. 5, what would the strongest version of me do right now? If you could fast forward and meet the unstoppable, unshakable version of yourself, the one who has already overcome this, what would they tell you to do? Would they tell you to walk away, or would they tell you to rise one more time? That version of you is already inside. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to wake up what's already there. So before you give up, ask these questions, real questions, soul questions. Because the moment you do, you stop reacting and start deciding. You stop surrendering and start leading. And maybe, just maybe, what felt like the end becomes the beginning of your strongest chapter yet. Pain has a language, but most people never learn to speak it. They run from it, numb it, or use it as an excuse to quit. But what if pain wasn't the enemy? What if instead it was a messenger, a signal that something needed your attention? Because here's what most people never understand. Pain is not there to punish you. It's there to shape you. It's trying to wake you up, to show you what matters, to expose weakness so you can replace it with strength. But if you see pain as a stop sign, you'll never reach the place it was trying to take you. Every great transformation, every breakthrough, every moment of deep personal power was preceded by pain. The pain of failure, the pain of being misunderstood, the pain of trying and still falling short. But the difference between those who rise and those who retreat is simple. One group sees pain as proof that they're not meant to continue. The other sees it as proof that they're on the edge of growth. Your nervous system, your mind, your beliefs, they're being stretched. And stretching hurts, but no muscle grows without it. No identity evolves without some friction. Think about the moments in your life where you made the greatest leaps forward. Were they born in comfort or were they forged in difficulty? Maybe it was the heartbreak that forced you to finally love yourself. Maybe it was the failure that taught you more than any success ever could. Maybe it was being alone that taught you to connect inward. Pain, when interpreted correctly, becomes fuel. But when you mistake it for a final verdict, you lose that power. And here's the truth. Most people quit not because the path is too hard, but because they never paused to interpret the signal. They took the pain personally. They made it mean something about their identity. I failed, so I must not be good enough. No, you failed because you were learning. You failed because the goal demands more of you. You failed because you're human. But instead of asking, what is this pain trying to tell me? You said, this must mean I'm done. That shift in meaning is everything. If you change the meaning, you change the momentum. Because pain doesn't ask you to give up. It asks you to grow up. It challenges your habits, your patterns, your limits. It confronts the lies you've told yourself about what you can and can't handle. It doesn't care about your comfort zone. It cares about your capacity. And capacity is built under pressure. You don't know who you are until you meet the part of you that's forged in fire. So when that voice shows up telling you it's too much, pause. Ask yourself, what is this pain asking of me? Not, why is this happening to me? Not, why is this happening to me? But what is this shaping in me? Because if you lean into that question, if you stop treating pain like a stop sign and start treating it like a compass, you'll start discovering strength you didn't even know you had. And you'll realize the real failure isn't feeling pain. It's walking away before you've heard what it's trying to say. Most people think clarity comes from knowing all the answers. But the truth is, clarity comes from asking the right questions, especially in the moments you feel most lost, most overwhelmed, most tempted to walk away. When you're in the storm, your brain looks for shortcuts. It wants to protect you. So it screams, get out, escape. But that impulse, that survival instinct, it doesn't lead you to truth. It leads you to safety. And safety is not where growth lives. What you need in those moments isn't the comfort of quitting. It's the courage to question your perspective. Because when you're exhausted, your mind doesn't give you facts. It gives you fear. When you're frustrated, your mind doesn't serve up wisdom. It serves up worst case scenarios. That's why most people quit. Not because the dream isn't worth it. Not because they aren't capable. They quit because they're asking the wrong questions. They ask, why is this so hard? Instead of, what is this trying to teach me? They ask, what if I fail again? Instead of, what will I miss if I don't try one more time? Those questions seem small, but they shape everything. The difference between people who keep going and people who give up often comes down to one thing: perspective. And perspective is a product of the questions you're asking yourself when everything feels heavy. Imagine you're on the edge of quitting and you stop and ask, what else could this mean? Suddenly, you're not locked into your fear. You've opened a door to possibility. What if this isn't the end? What if this is the beginning of the real work? What if the delay isn't a denial? It's a test. The moment you change the question, you change the path. Clarity doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't come through noise and drama. It comes through stillness and reflection. And that's hard in a world that's obsessed with speed, with progress, with checking boxes. But some of your most important breakthroughs won't come through movement. They'll come through pause, through asking, what matters most right now? Through asking, am I operating from fear or from faith? Through asking, will I be proud of this decision in 5 years? Questions like these recalibrate your inner compass. They pull you out of the emotional chaos and reconnect you to your mission. Because quitting isn't always about effort. It's often about disconnection. You forgot why you started. You lost sight of the vision. You're so deep in the weeds of pressure and deadlines and noise that you forgot the fire that got you moving in the first place. But the fire isn't gone. It's buried under frustration. And the shovel to dig it up again is inside the questions you ask. The right question doesn't just give you an answer, it gives you direction. It helps you see what was already there, but clouded by fear. So before you quit, ask. And it's often sitting just on the other side of the next question you're brave enough to ask most of the time. When people give up, it's not because they've thought it through. It's because they made a decision inside a moment of pain, inside a moment of fear, inside a storm that felt like it would never end. And here's the truth most people don't like to admit. Temporary emotions create permanent decisions. You get hit with exhaustion, with overwhelm, with failure, and suddenly you start telling yourself a story. This isn't worth it. I can't do this. Maybe I'm not cut out for it. That story doesn't come from logic. It doesn't come from who you are. It comes from a low state, a moment of weakness, and yet you build a life around it. You've got to understand that emotion is real, but it's not always true. You can feel like a failure and still be on the verge of a breakthrough. You can feel like you're broken and still be healing. You can feel like giving up and still have more than enough in you to keep going. That's why pausing is power. When emotions run high, intelligence runs low. Your nervous system is overwhelmed. Your thinking shrinks. Your brain moves from possibility to protection. That's the moment you want to quit. But it's also the moment you need to stop, breathe, and ask yourself, am I making this decision from the version of me that's scared or the version of me that's clear? Because nothing good ever comes from reacting in a low state. The feelings pass. They always do. But the consequences don't. And so many people build their lives around decisions they made on their worst day. They gave up on the dream. They left the relationship. They walked away from the process. Not because it was the wrong path, but because their emotions tricked them into thinking the discomfort was permanent. But emotion is like weather. It comes and goes. And the danger is when you let a passing storm tell you to burn down your house. You have to get good at sitting in the discomfort without letting it control your direction. You have to learn how to let feelings be a signal, not a steering wheel. That takes emotional maturity. It takes awareness. It takes the discipline to say, right now I'm tired. Right now I'm frustrated, but I know better than to build my future based on how I feel in this moment. There is nothing wrong with feeling broken. There is nothing wrong with hitting a wall. But you don't walk away from your life's mission just because you're having a rough week. Instead of quitting, sit with yourself. Ask, if I still felt this way tomorrow, would I still want to quit? And then ask again next week. What you'll find is that clarity rises when emotions settle. And most of the time, what looked like the end in your worst moment turns into the beginning of your next level. But only if you resist the urge to run. The people who make it, who build extraordinary things, who live lives of purpose and power, they feel the same emotions you do. The only difference is they don't build their identity on them. They don't make forever choices in temporary storms. They understand that feelings are visitors, not dictators. So the next time you want to quit, don't. Wait. Think. Breathe. Because regret lives on the other side of rushed decisions, and peace comes to those who choose to lead themselves through the storm, not run from it. You weren't given your vision by accident. It was planted inside you for a reason, and it's not going to leave just because the journey gets hard. But here's what happens to most people. The moment the path gets uncomfortable, they start to question the purpose. The truth is, it's not that the goal became impossible, it's that the pressure became unfamiliar. You're stepping into territory you've never been in before, and your mind is screaming for certainty. That's where most people break. They confuse discomfort with danger. But discomfort isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign that growth is happening. There's a version of you that can't handle everything you're facing right now, but you haven't met that version yet, not because it doesn't exist, but because you've been avoiding the struggle that was meant to reveal it. Purpose isn't comfortable. Progress isn't comfortable. Success isn't comfortable. Success isn't comfortable. And purpose hasn't comfortable often. Success hasn't comfortable often. Success isn't comfortable. Success isn't comfortable. So comfort, evolution definitely isn't comfortable. And yet, deep down, you know the uncomfortable path is where your transformation lives. So when you feel like quitting, you have to stop and ask yourself, am I giving up because it's truly not right for me, or because I don't want to go through the pain that's required to become who I need to be? Everyone wants to grow, but no one wants to succeed. But no one wants to succeed. But no one wants to be refined. You can't get stronger without resistance. You can't gain endurance without pressure. And you can't become your highest self without walking through things that force you to let go of who you used to be. It's not the goal that's out of reach. It's the current version of you that's not yet ready to carry it. That's why the challenges come. Not to break you, but to build the version of you that can carry the weight of your purpose. When the resistance shows up, don't run, don't shrink, don't start telling yourself, maybe this isn't for me. That voice isn't truth, it's fear. It's the part of you that wants to stay safe, stay small, stay predictable. But your future wasn't built for predictability, it was built for impact. And impact always requires pressure. Think about the people you admire most. None of them became who they are by taking the easy path. They walked through fire, they fell and rose again. They faced uncertainty, doubt, fear, and they kept moving. You were given your vision for a reason. You've got to stop treating it like a hobby and start treating it like a responsibility. Because if you don't carry it, who will? If you don't push through the discomfort, who misses out? There's someone waiting on the other side of your breakthrough. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your future self. Maybe it's someone you haven't even met yet who needs to see that it's possible. You walking away from your calling doesn't just impact you, it ripples outward in ways you can't even see yet. So ask yourself again, is this truly impossible or just uncomfortable? Because the answer to that question will determine whether you spend your life stuck in cycles or rising into the life you were built for. Growth isn't about what feels good, it's about doing what's necessary. And often the most necessary things are the ones you want to avoid the most. But if you lean in, if you stop running from the pain and start learning from it, you'll see that the very thing you thought was trying to break you was actually sent to build you. And then, if you